Where should I look? At you? Okay.
We are back on the Morning Brew with Friends. It's a busy, packed house today, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is Nancy Renner. You were with the Corrales Main Street program. And there's a big garden tour coming up in Corrales.
It is. We've got a great one this Sunday, and it's from 9 to 4, and it is Sunday. Sometimes people think garden tours are Saturday, but this one is Sunday. And there's 6 gardens, and they're all throughout Corrales. They're scattered, and the owners have really been involved with the development of it. So it's really very interesting.
So how do you find and convince a garden person to let the public go into their backyard and look at their garden?
It's a challenge sometimes, but gardeners are proud of their gardens, so that's if we find a good one. But we really start right now, actually, to go through Corrales, and we ask master gardeners.
You just knock on doors and say, hey, you got a pretty backyard?
Sometimes we do.
Yeah?
And sometimes we go over fences because Corrales has lots of gates, and so.
I love it.
But, we'll leave a brochure or something and say, give us a call.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So.
And what do people say? Do they say, oh my gosh, you want to put my garden in the garden tour? Or?
Lots of times, yeah. They're really pleased with it. And,
that's very cool.
The owners have really worked hard. And,
of course.
And even the pretty when we initially see them, when the day of the garden tour, they have gone out of their way to really make it the best place it could ever be.
That's very cool. Well, what kinds of gardens are we going to see? I mean, I think of high desert gardens usually when I think of these things in New Mexico, but Corrales has a little more water than the rest of us.
We do, and it's a variety. That's part of what we try to do is have a variety of gardens. Some are lush because they're close to the bosque, and then other ones are more xeric and
like
lots of native
here.
plants. Right, that's one of our ones that's in the Sandhills, and we really have a wonderful assortment this year, and we actually have, this is one of the bosque ones, and this place actually was a place to go pick wild asparagus many, many years ago.
Wow.
But when they bought it, it was overgrown with weeds. This is a labyrinth, and it's open to the public. It's the homeowners, along that road actually come in and walk this labyrinth. So,
that's very cool.
The people really enjoy that. This is another garden. It's actually been in the family for about 40 years, and they've been working on it. So it's another lush one that's close to the bosque. And we will be showing different kinds of irrigation because sometimes people do flood irrigation because they're within the bosque, and then there's other ones. For instance, this one, which is in the Sandhills, this is owned by 2 artists, and you'll see their metal sculptures throughout the garden. So the gardens really reflect the owners, and that's the thing that we think is so interesting.
That's
is because
very cool.
It does. They're very different because they do reflect the owner.
Which is your favorite? Which is the one you like?
I don't know. They're just all so different. So it's really hard to say, which is a favorite because they're very different styles that are within them.
Right. It's got to be hard to grow. I know the Sandhills area is entirely it's like the moon compared to the area down by the bosques.
Yes, and I live in the Sandhills.
How do you irrigate that? How do you get that?
You do it with drip irrigation and real focused watering. But it's very possible when you have to choose the right plants.
Right.
And they will see a lot of different xeric plants throughout the garden tour. And sometimes people think xeric is like stone and no planting, but xeric is low water plants. And
lots of cactus, lots of...
Well, it's cactus, but native plants, and there's a lot of plants that really can do well with low water.
There's even xeric grasses.
And wonderful grasses, and that's one of the things that we were talking about the other day. Grasses are really good because they provide some shade for other gardens or other plants, and so it really is a good thing to include them in the garden.
Absolutely. Well, you are with Main Street in Corrales.
Correct.
And I mean, that's one of the things downtown now. We have a Main Street down here. Nob Hill's got one. What's the latest on the Main Street program in your neck of the woods? Because it's a very interesting program. I don't know if a lot of people know about what it is that you guys do at Main Street. But what's the latest with you guys in Corrales?
Well, we are doing a number of different things. We're working with the businesses, of course. And then really trying to build our art community that's there in the village. And one of the things the funding that we raised from the garden tour actually goes towards a project on Main Street. We're hoping to put in pathways sometime in the near future, and this will go for landscaping.
Very
because
cool.
that's not in the budget.
And when you say pathways, you mean like Corrales, you don't have sidewalks.
No, bad word. Bad
right.
word.
No curb and gutter necessarily.
No, but we want to put in pathways to connect the businesses to make it easier to get from one to the other. So that's what we have been working on there.
Very cool.
And if I can mention another thing about the actual gardens that people are going to see, they will get to see plein air artists in the garden who will actually be painting the different gardens. So it's interesting to see that perspective. They will get to talk to the garden owners because they can answer questions for them.
I'm sure.
We will also have master gardeners in all the gardens. And then in 3 of the gardens, there's going to be some demonstrations going on throughout the day. It's really more of an educational exhibit with people there to be able to answer questions. It'll be on water harvesting, on square foot gardening, and then also a lasagna gardening.
Lasagna gardening? What is lasagna gardening?
Well,
I'm imagining it's towering of stuff.
Well, it is.
And then you put a little bit of ricotta in the middle?
Yes.
Okay.
The lasagna gardening helps to generate really good soil without doing a whole lot of work. You put down some layers of newspaper or corrugated cardboard, and then you put down some green, like grass clippings or something, and then brown. You put down leaves. So it's basically the stuff you put in a compost pile, but you're layering it throughout the garden. And in just a really short time, you end up with a nice fluffy soil, and you don't have to do a lot of digging or anything.
That's probably amazing.
It's pretty cool. And some of the gardens, especially like in the sandhills, it's been a wonderful way to rejuvenate the soil. And then in the more lush gardens where they've got lots of weeds or grass where they don't want it, it eliminates that and provides really nice soil. So
that's very
really
cool.
Good
so do you have any tips for high desert gardeners? I know every time I see stuff like this, I get inspired to go out and start planting or digging up or cutting down or whatever.
There's several tips. One is to mulch. You know, to help to retain moisture and let the plants not be fighting with the weeds. Another thing is to choose appropriate plants. Sometimes you go in a garden center and you say, oh, look at that azalea, or look at that gardenia, wouldn't that be fun? They don't grow here. You need something that's
They're not going to last in the 100-degree weather in the summer.
They are not, and they just don't survive. And so you want to choose appropriate plants. And then another one is deep watering, because sometimes what happens, people, they water every day just a little bit, and then they develop shallow roots. So we don't want to do that either. But
very cool. Well, we're looking forward to the garden tour this Sunday.
And they can get tickets throughout or the day of the tour in Corrales.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
We got our buddies Felix y Los Gatos.
Okay.